Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This video is gonna be a unedited video, so whatever happens, happens. Long time no see, guys. I have had probably one of the hardest years, not 2023, but like 2022 up to now. Probably one of the hardest things I've been through in my whole life. That is losing my mom. So if you guys are subscribed to me, then you would have saw it. I threw in a couple clips, like shorts. Then you would know that I lost my mom on March 2023. She was diagnosed with cancer. I can't remember what exact day, but end of June, beginning sometime in July, I think, of 2022, and she passed 2023 of March. And there are no words for that loss. I will most likely live most of my life without my mom than I have known her. I mean, I'm 23 years old, and I don't have a mom anymore. And I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about grief. I truly believe unless you've lost someone that you've had a great relationship with, there is no words to describe it. And so I've been wanting to make this video for a bit because I've noticed, but I'm sure you guys have noticed that honestly the past year I haven't really been posting on YouTube as I haven't been as passionate. It's just hard to want to post videos when you're hurting so much inside. I don't know how people post so consistently when they're going through such hardships. It's definitely not on my priority list to post when it's kind of like, it reminds me of, I'm the person right now that is walking around this earth, and people might look at me and think she's happy, she's got it all together, yet I cry every day. And so just goes to show that you don't know what people are going through. And I am that person that acts like everything's fine, but deep down I'm extremely hurt. The pain doesn't go away. And so I decided to write down a few bullet points on my notes to just kind of talk a little bit about grief. My mom was an amazing woman. I can't even describe how amazing she was. I remember as kids, if she would buy something for herself, which she barely ever pampered herself, because she had 10 kids, and she just prioritized us and being a mom over everything. But she was that woman that would buy herself, finally buy herself something, like a cute purse or a nice perfume. And my mom, we didn't have money, so my mom would have to save for those things. And if I asked her if I could have it, she would say, yes, of course you can have it. She never held on to earthly and worldly things, and I am nowhere near like that. Imagine you just saved up money and bought yourself this nice perfume or this nice purse or these nice pair of shoes, and someone asks you if they can have it, and you, without hesitation, give it away. That is being selfless. That's just how I can describe her. She put everything aside and did it and served others, and she loved her enemies, and she was an amazing woman. So I'm not going to go too much into my mom's life because that's just something for my family. But just know that she was a God-fearing woman, and she was an amazing woman. And I had a relationship with her that was the kind of relationship that I called her while I was working, and I FaceTime and I talked about random things like my plans for the weekend, or I called her while I was doing my makeup and getting ready. Just an amazing mother-daughter relationship. We, of course, had our differences because my mom grew up in a different era. But for the most part, we talked all the time. And I'm just going to try to stick to this because this video will be really long. But first thing I would like to talk about is how when someone that you love is going through a sickness, it's quite different than losing someone unexpectedly. Both are tragic and both have trauma. And I am grateful for the time that I had with my mom before she passed. But you slowly start to lose the person as they get more sick. I remember my mom stopped calling me, stopped texting me. I could barely have like decent conversations with her towards the last couple of months. And although she's there, which I so wish I could even just cuddle with her and take a nap with her, like, but there was a gradual like decrease in her capability to communicate and be herself. And cancer really strips who you are as a person. Slowly, you start to not be able to do the things that you love. Slowly, it starts to take away how you actually look, your appearance, your face, your weight, your hair, and it destroys you. And that's what it was. It was slowly but surely we were losing her bit by bit until we fully lost her. Another thing is how I remember I was feeling towards the time, when it got closer to the time that my mom was gonna pass. I remember almost being like used to her being sick and knowing that there is extreme high probability that she's going to pass. And I remember kind of losing hope and not being okay with that, but it was so like, it was a normal conversation with my family that like, planning for the funeral. And I remember feeling so shitty or crappy for planning the funeral when she's still alive. I remember I messaged my family and I was like, let's get together and let's talk about just who does what during the funeral planning, because if something happens and once it happens, then we're not going to have the emotional capacity to just like get together and just have a good conversation about whose role is and what part of the funeral planning. And I remember we got together and I kind of felt like guilt that like, why are we sitting here planning my mom's funeral when she's still alive? But then she passed 6 days later. We thought we had more time, and we obviously didn't. I thought I was coming to terms with it, but nothing can prepare you for the moment when you see the life come out of someone, like they're no longer breathing. And I was alone with my mom when she passed, and it was extremely hard to see that. But nothing can prepare you for that moment. As much as for many months we saw my mom declining, and we thought like death is probably coming up, even though there are moments of hope and she was a fighter. But then there are moments when you're trying to protect your heart and guard your heart and realize that no, you have to understand, Esther, that this is a possibility, a very high possibility. But nothing can prepare you for that moment when she's gone. Another thing that I realized going through this is I'm not the greatest under this kind of stress. I remember planning the funeral and I was just barely eating, very, very stressed during the funeral planning. And I feel like that week before the funeral, like I remember I pushed aside my grieving process, the start of my grieving process, because I knew things had to get done. I knew slideshows had to get done, pictures had to be gathered, playlists had to be made, food had to be figured out. Just all of these little things that go into a funeral, and it's a lot. It's planning a whole event. I remember, like, I didn't let myself grieve during that week. And then another thing is when the dust settles, when the funeral's over, when everyone goes back to their lives. And during the moment, I remember when, after the burial, when everyone was eating, we were actually the first people to leave, my mom's kids and wives, and we left because everyone's eating and everyone's socializing, and of course it didn't impact them like it impacted you. You don't have a mom anymore. And I just remember wanting to scream, like, do you not realize what just happened? Because so-and-so, you can just hear that so-and-so is talking about their job and so-and-so is talking about this, and then you're sitting there like numb, and you just realize that, wow, like, you guys, like my family, my siblings, just the immediate family, like, we are gonna have to start picking up the pieces and start a true hard grieving process, while everyone else here has been impacted, but not like you have. And that's something that is kind of like a gut punch. Like, everyone moves on, and every single day you're going up or down, up or down. Some days are good, some days are bad. That's something that I realized, that, yeah, these people knew my mom, maybe they cared about her, but they're going to move on with their life. And here I am, 3 months later, still just as broken. Another thing that I've been thinking about is future holidays and gatherings and milestones. After my mom passed, a couple months later, I got baptized, which I have grown so much in my faith, so much. I've gotten so much closer to God the past year and a half, and that would have been such an amazing thing for my mom to see. And this is just the beginning. But gatherings, like even simple, like Memorial Day gathering, like there was a moment when I just started crying because it doesn't feel like it used to anymore. Like, there is a hold, there is pain associated with gathering, and also looking at, like, people that are my age or that are married, that daughters that are hanging out with their mom or just talking about random things, and you know that, like, you won't have that anymore. And just thinking about, like, Christmas and Thanksgiving, and how you used to text your mom and call your mom and plan out, like, the menu and talk about the details. I used to do that with at every single holiday. I used to do that with my mom, and I kind of was responsible for the most part for that, and realizing that that is not happening anymore. Another thing is going back to work after something like this happens. Thankfully, my job was super considerate, and I got to take time off, but you got to put on a pretty face and act like you're all fine. The best way I can describe it is life moves forward, but the pain doesn't move on. Some people think, like, time heals, and I can't attest to that right now, but the pain of thinking about the loss is still the same. Like I said, every milestone that I achieve, that someone else around me achieves, that was a really big part of my mom's life, it does hurt. Every party, every gathering, like my mom's missing. My mom was an icebreaker. She would walk in the room and she talked to everyone. She was the person who broke the ice in the event. Like, she was an amazing, warm, welcoming person. And lastly, before I head out, I just wanted to say that my content going forward is going to be different, because I'm no longer interested in the things that I used to be interested. I have a relationship with God, and I've been really trying to grow that. And so my content might look different going forward. And I don't honestly care who stays, who watches, whatever. But my goal in this life is to bring God glory and share the good news of God. And also one day I would love to see my mom in heaven. When you have someone in heaven like that, it becomes different. The feeling of looking up is different. Like, you look up and you think, my mom is up there in heaven, and I will see her one day. But I have a lot of work to do on this earth so that I am worthy to go up to heaven to see her. My camera got too hot, but living on this earth is not easy. I know my mom is in a better place, but I am left with this earthly flesh with my mind capacity to grieve, and I know that I can get through it with the Lord. But I want to thank you guys for all your kind words. And I might be doing more sit-down videos just talking, because honestly, just sharing my life to an extent, like the type of content that I was doing, it's not really so appealing to me anymore. I'm not sure what I'm going to do going forward, but it's probably going to be different than what I used to post. God bless, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.